What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing good. We're keeping the Halloween vibes going strong. Today's video has some seriously creepy Reddit stories that'll mess with your head a bit. Some of these are real encounters, some might just be stories. But either way, they'll give you chills. If you've been enjoying this Halloween series so far, make sure to drop a like and let me know in the comments which story freaked you out the most. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. I've still got more horror videos coming before Halloween's over. Alright, let's get into it. My neighbor smiled at me through every window, but he's been dead for over a year. I moved into this house last summer. It's a small, one-story place on the edge of a quiet street, the kind of neighborhood where everyone waves, but nobody really talks. My next-door neighbor, Mr. Greeley, had apparently lived there for decades. His yard was always perfect. Grass cut like carpet, not a weed in sight, but I didn't meet him, because he'd been dead for a year. The realtor told me when I bought the place. "Nice guy," she said. "Heart attack in his sleep." Family sold the property quick. The house had sat empty for a while, but I didn't mind. The price was too good to pass up. It wasn't until about a week after moving in that I saw him. I was in the kitchen, washing dishes, when I noticed something in the window above the sink. The window that faces his house. The curtains in his place were drawn, but there was a gap just enough to see through. He was standing there, right by the window, grinning at me. It was one of those smiles that doesn't look right. Too wide, too long. Like he'd been smiling for hours and forgot how to stop. I froze. We locked eyes for maybe 3 seconds before I ducked away, heart pounding. I peeked back, but he was gone. I told myself it was a trick of the light. Maybe someone new had moved in. But the next morning, when I checked, the house was still empty. No cars, no lights, no movement. Just that same drawn curtain. That night, I saw him again. This time, from my living room. My couch faces the big front window that overlooks the street. I was scrolling through my phone when something caught my eye. A reflection in the glass. I turned, and there he was, standing in my yard, right outside, facing me through the window, still smiling. I didn't even breathe. I just sat there, staring, until I finally whispered, "What the fuck?" And he tilted his head like he heard me. Then, I swear to God, he walked backward, not turned around, walked backward. Out of view, I locked every door that night. Over the next few days, it got worse. Every time I looked out a window, any window, he was there, always smiling, sometimes closer, sometimes farther. Once, I saw his reflection in my TV screen standing behind me, but when I turned, the room was empty. I started covering the windows with blankets and trash bags. I thought if I couldn't see him, maybe he'd stop. But the thing is, even with everything covered, I still felt him watching. It's like when you know someone's staring at you in public. That tightening in your gut, the prickling on your neck. Then came the smell. It started as something faint, like damp earth. Then it got stronger, rotten, like roadkill left in the sun. I searched everywhere, thinking maybe something died under the house, but it wasn't coming from anywhere inside, it was coming from him. 2 nights ago, I heard knocking. It was soft at first, from the front door. Then it moved. To the side door. Then the kitchen window. Then the bedroom window. By the time it circled back to the front, I was hiding in the bathroom, clutching a hammer, too scared to even look. The knocking stopped after maybe 5 minutes. Then came whispering. I couldn't make out the words, but it sounded like my name, drawn out, slow and wet. Andrew. That's when I realized I never told anyone around here my name, not even the realtor. This morning, I finally ripped down the blankets and checked. His house was empty, windows shut, curtains drawn, no sign of him anywhere. Until I went to the kitchen. The window above the sink, the one facing his house, had condensation on the inside. Words traced into the fog. "Come outside." I backed away, shaking. Then I saw movement, his curtain twitching, a gap opening. And there he was again, standing in that same spot, still smiling, still staring right at me. Only this time, I noticed something new. The reflection in the glass behind him wasn't his house. It was mine. And in that reflection, standing at my kitchen window, was me, smiling back. Strange young woman encounter in Siskiyou County, California a few days ago while visiting for first time. So I and my male friend decided to head to Mount Shasta for the first time, to see its beauty and hope to experience any creepy things while being there after hearing all of the legends about it. We sadly didn't witness anything supernatural out there, but loved it anyway. We visited the towns near the mountain of Eureka and Weed and Mount, Shasta City, and really enjoyed it. But we are both still creeped out after meeting a strange woman at a small diner in the town of Mount Shasta, so we were both eating breakfast when I felt we were being watched by someone. I turned my head and met the gaze of a young woman sitting alone across from our table. She is skinny with dark hair, light skin, and seems to have lighter shaded brown eyes and is of medium height. Trying not to be awkward, I smiled and waved to her, and she returned the favor. That seemed to be an invitation for her to come walk up to us and start talking to us. She introduced herself as Carmen, and almost immediately started being flirty after barely having a normal greeting and first-time conversation, which made my friend and I feel a bit odd. He is married, and I am not ever into anyone that is a lot younger than me. We are both in our early 30s, and she appeared to be no older than 22. We both played it off and tried our best to let her know without being rude. She eventually realized that neither one of us had any desire to flirt back with her, and she got even more strange. She looked at us both and proclaimed that we are obviously gay slurs before walking out of the door and leaving her table a mess. I'm not sure if she dined and dashed TBH. My friend and I both looked at each other and laughed after a bit of stunned silence. A few others that just have witnessed what had happened also laughed, but seemed confused as well. We are both from a pretty liberal area in the USA, so hearing that from a total stranger kind of surprised us. But after researching a bit, the city of Mount Shasta seems more liberal than the rest of the county it is in. We finished eating and headed back to the parking lot, only to see Carmen pacing around the parking lot not far from our car. My friend went to confront her, only got her to spot him, give a quick laugh, and run off as fast as she could. We checked our car for slashed tires or any other visible damage, but there, thankfully, was none. We decided to head back to the hotel after visiting a few local areas in the town. Later that night, I realized I had left an item in the car and left the room to get it. And I kid you not, that woman had found us. She was standing on the other side of the parking lot directly across from me. I was now freaking out and yelled out to her asking her what her deal is. Now, believe me, I don't find myself to be very good looking at all, but this woman did, or at least acted like it. She then laughed and said that a guy as hot as I am, and that I need to just give in to what's natural. I came to the conclusion that she was either simply a massive homophobe, or simply just crazy, maybe even on drugs, even though she didn't look like she was. I told her to leave us the hell alone, and that I will call the cops if she keeps messing with us, and demanded to know how she even freaking found out where we were staying. She laughed like a madwoman, which really spooked me, and I prepared to stand my ground if she tried anything crazy, but she simply then told me that she would love for me to come back to see her soon someday before turning around and walking off to who knows where. I then checked the car over again for the same reasons, but there was no damage once again. I then hurried back to the room to tell my friend what had happened, and we decided to just head out that night. We told the guy at the front office that there was a strange woman littering around the area and saying weird things to us, and he offered to call the police. We decided against it and just wanted to get the hell out of there. We even checked the back seat to make sure she had not somehow managed to get in. Hell, we still don't know how she found us, so can you blame us for being paranoid? We are both still weirded out by her pretty badly, and I wouldn't even be surprised if she appeared outside of my home in a different state at this point. What in the hell was up with her? Tall, pitch-black figure with red glowing eyes. In the doorway, I have wanted to post my story for several years, and finally have decided to share my experience. I'm 49. What I experienced was at the young age of 10 years old. An experience that still has been unanswered and still is a big question mark in my life. I was 10 years old and spent the night at a friend's house. It was a split-level home. Front door was in the middle of the house, which on entry led you to either walk up the stairs to the upper floor or down the stairs to the bottom floor. The bedrooms were on the upper floor. At the top of the stairs, the living room was to the left, along with dining room. The kitchen was straight ahead, and all the bedrooms were to the right down the hallway. My friend's room was at the end of the hallway to the right, his sister's bedroom directly next to his, and his parents' directly across the hallway. I've set the stage for the location, so here's a very brief backstory on me and my friend. Brief backstory on me. I've always been a highly empathetic, intuitive, and spiritual person. I was raised in a Christian household. Generations were church starters, pastors, youth pastors. No, we aren't the righteous gemstones, but truthfully, after watching that show from start to finish, we come close. I was also considered a bit of a black sheep in the family, meaning everyone at an older age was involved with church. My brother became a pastor. I, on the other hand, went into business and have always been outside the church. Yet, I still believe in God and have my faith. It just doesn't look like the rest of the family. I've always been very in tune with the spiritual world. I always have said the end of the movie Unbreakable really shook me up because I am very much like that. As he walks through the crowd and they are bumping into him, he can feel and see what they are feeling and almost becomes them. Soaks it up. Backstory on my friend and his family. My friend and his family were somewhat the same, but a lot more loose in their beliefs. The mom and dad were always yelling at each other. You could tell my friend was deeply affected by it with his actions and way about him. Didn't really like his family and not really sure why I liked him. I think it was someone I could be buddies with, and it stuck for a while. My friend asked me to spend the night. First time. Nothing unusual while we hung out all day. Even into the evening, nothing unusual. Around 9 p.m., we hung out in his room and remember listening to Brass Monkey by Beastie Boys. Lights low and just chilling. We ended up going to bed around 10 p.m., mainly because his dad threatened us to go to sleep, keep quiet. His dad was a bit of a mafia type, didn't want to mess with him. His bedroom was rectangular. You walked in the bedroom door and everything was to the right. The door was butting up against the wall into the room. You could only turn right into the room or walk straight ahead. No left. His bed was up against the far left corner. His bed was elevated with drawers beneath it. I slept on the floor next to the bed in a sleeping bag. I couldn't see him on the bed since he was elevated while laying on the floor. We talked for a little bit until we turned off the lights and went to sleep. I still don't know exactly what time it was, but I remember waking up and sitting straight up in my sleep bag. As I sat there, I remember wiping my eyes and noticing the entire room was a bit of a red-amber color, as if there was a nightlight plugged in or small lamp on in a corner of the room. I wasn't looking around the room, but instead, I sat up and looked directly at the door to the room. While noticing the room was red, I was staring at the door, noticing the door was not only open, but something was standing right inside the door. At first, I thought I was dreaming, and did the whole rub my eyes violently to fix my vision and to see if I was awake. I really didn't know. What I did realize after removing my hands from my eyes is that something for sure was standing inside the doorway. Didn't move, and I was having a difficult time making out what I was looking at. Until it moved. At this moment is when I realized that the thing in the doorway was hunching over with the middle of its upper back rubbing against the top of the door frame. It was absolutely pitch black with no defining features or anything. Blackness. I could only make out the outline of the thing. It resembled a person with dreadlocks and what appeared to be a trench coat, possibly wings. The red light in the room was coming from two glowing red eyes. Again, two glowing eyes. Pitch black figure that was so tall the mid-upper back was rubbing against the top of the door frame. I sat there again, rubbing my eyes, taking a double and triple take. Trying my hardest to get my eyes to adjust so I could make out what was 6 feet from my feet. It then moved again, but this time into the room about a foot or two. Hunched over, looking directly at me. Didn't say a word and didn't make a sound. At that moment, while I kept my body facing it and while keeping my eyes on it, I moved my right hand around behind me, trying to find a marble or something I could throw in the direction of the door. My thinking was that it was my imagination, and by throwing something it would make it go poof and disappear. Unfortunately, I could not find anything, and decided to break my stare and slowly pull myself towards my friend's bed. At this moment, while I was trying to get closer to my friend's bed, the thing moved into the hallway and made its way down the hall to the living room. Understand, the end of the hallway near my friend's bedroom had a wall-sized mirror which allowed me to see down the hall without going into the hallway. The red glow went with it. As it made its way down the hall, the red glow went with it. At this time, I thought this is probably my time to make a move and wake up my friend because, whatever the thing was, it was coming back up the hallway towards our room. I managed to get next to the bed while keeping an eye on the door, pulled myself up to his mattress, onto his mattress, and then finally sitting almost on top of him. I was terrified. My thinking at the time was, I will wake up my friend and get him to scream for his dad. I reached out and started shaking my friend, quietly saying out loud, "Wake up! Wake up!" It felt like hours had gone by until he finally woke up, looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" Looked at me and saw that I was pointing at the door. The glow was back and the thing was now further into the room and staring right at us. He sat up, looked at the door, and almost instantly he pushed himself up into the corner of the bed and wall, and I literally saw the hair on his neck stand up, and he started stuttering, "What is that? What is that?" At this moment, I knew for a fact what I was looking at was real. I told him to yell for his dad. "Please yell for your dad." He couldn't get the words out. He was stuttering and completely freaked out. While we sat there on the bed, watching this thing in the door, the thing kept moving in and out of the door, sometimes further into the room, just staring at us with the red eyes, glow, lighting up the room, and pitch-dark body, dreads and trench coat. Suddenly from behind me, my friend yells, "Dad! Dad!" If I wasn't scared already, that sent me through the roof. No joke. Which seconds we heard his dad's bedroom door open and he was standing in the doorway flicking on the light. Within seconds, poof, it was gone. His dad was literally standing in the same spot this thing was standing. Nowhere to be found. His dad sat there staring at us, trying to figure out what our problem was. We were both huddled together in the corner of his bed, white as ghosts. My friend tells his dad there was something in our room, and possibly in the house. We didn't tell him what we saw, but just something was in the room, and possibly house. He looked at us like we were crazy, but considering both of us saw the same thing and freaked out, he calmed down and ended up doing a complete sweep of the house from top to bottom to the garage. Nothing. He came back in after 15 minutes or so and told us there is no sign of a break-in or intruder. Try and go back to sleep. He turned on the hall light, left our door open, and went back to bed. We both did not sleep the rest of the night and sat on the bed with our backs against the wall watching the door. We could not sleep. We know what we saw, and it was not a figment of our imagination. The next morning his parents came in and woke us up. We had finally fell asleep from exhaustion. His mom was pretty upset at us. She claims we went down the hallway and moved all the picture frames and moved the dining room table chairs. Things were moved around throughout the upper floor. She was convinced we were messing around throughout the night and being stupid. She demanded we go straighten everything up. We argued that it wasn't us, but there was no way to prove it. Whatever that thing was, it was brushing up against the photos on the walls and knocking chairs over in the dining room. We didn't say much to each other, and I finally went home later that morning. His parents called my parents and asked that I go home early. It was a long night. On the way home, my parents could tell something wasn't right. I opened up about everything that had happened. I remember sitting in the back seat of the car, exhausted, scared, and confused. I told them everything. They didn't say much, heard me out. A few weeks go by and I find out they talked to my great-uncle who is a pastor. He was convinced that a curtain was pulled open to reveal the supernatural realm and was showing me in particular what was in the house. He knew my friend's parents and claimed due to their arguing and oppressive relationships, it most likely was an oppressive spirit, and I happened to have the curtains pulled to reveal what was oppressing the household. Not much was said after that. I've told my wife, my kids, and a few friends, but I've mostly stayed quiet about it. Yet, I'm almost 50 and still want to know what happened, what I saw, and what it meant. There has only been one thing that I have seen that almost represents what I saw, and that's from the documentary, The Nightmare. There is a particular story/scene where there is a pitch-black figure with red eyes standing next to the guy's bed. I don't get scared easily with horror or scary movies, but when this scene came on, I almost threw up. It was like I was back in that room. I've never turned off a movie before, but I could not finish it. So, to this day, it's still eating at me. I've often thought about finding this boy I was friends with and straight up asking him, "Do you remember?" and see what his response will be, if he remembers at all, or if I'm just crazy. This is my experience. Since then, I have had several experiences, nothing as real as this, but close. My wife says I can see right through people and see what's behind them. I finally did it. I wrote my story. Now, I hope there is something out there that has some kind of answer or maybe similar experience. Anyone? I think my wife is a skinwalker. My wife and I just recently welcomed my sweet daughter into this world, but I've got a bad feeling she may not be as sweet as she seems to be to me. But to understand why I'd say that about my own daughter, I need to give a little backstory to the situation. We haven't been married very long, as it's not really frowned upon to marry soon in my family. But when we were first dating and staying with my parents, we slept in their living room. And when we woke up one morning, I noticed the door was still unlocked, but I was always sure to keep it locked. I never really noticed anything else though. I never saw any handprints on the door or windows. I never saw anything out of the ordinary at all that would be a telltale sign of an intruder. I brought it up to my dad, so he took me to his office to check the CCTV monitor. No one had approached the house all night. In fact, everything was eerily still except for a very large cat that would always hang out in their yard. That cat had been around for a long time though. We always thought maybe it was a neighbor's cat because we lived out in the backcountry of Texas and there were other people out in the woods. But growing up there, I did actually notice a lot of things that scared the shit out of me. I once saw my cat, Salam, shape-shifting, right in front of my eyes when my little cousin and I were playing soldiers near the woods. One of the old men down the road would tell us stories of a panther that would kill people's horses, but I wondered if it was really my shape-shifting cat or something. My dad also told me a story of a man that lived on our land before we did. That killed his daughter's bus driver for what she said he did to her one day when she came home crying. And he would see the ghost of that dad standing over him when he slept with a blood-stained shirt and evil radiating from his eyes. And of course, countless other stories of all sorts of things that go bump in the night. None of that really seemed related to that night I noticed the door was unlocked. However, since then I've noticed a lot of things are different about her than she used to be. But nothing too extreme. Just minor things. Things that only people really close to her would know. Like she started wearing makeup when she never really liked it before, and what she liked to eat changed. But I didn't really know how to explain it. I had only known her a few months, and only had to ask what she liked to eat so few times for dates and family gatherings. Every time I tried to talk to her about it or ask her if something was wrong, she shot it down. So I just had to deal with the fact that maybe I was just discovering her for who she really is. I got used it wasn't a big deal after all. Like I said, it wasn't anything major and she still seemed like the girl I loved. And like I said, we had only been dating for a few months at the time. She Aslo started calling me Delicious, which wasn't really a pet name we had used before. I tried to ignore how uncomfortable her tone was when she used it. It was probably just sexual anyway. More recently, I've noticed odd smells originating from under our house when I'm out working around the yard. I've also noticed a greater number of flies and carrion birds. I was hoping a lost dog or some large rodent had just crawled under there and died. But one day I found the promise ring I had given her that she said she lost before we even moved to this house. It looked extremely old now and caked with mud. I started nosing under the house near where the ring was laying, and I found a large indention on the earth as if something was laying there but had been moved. Soon after that day, she surprised me with the news that we were going to be parents, and I've been so excited at first until I realized something. I just knew my initial suspicions were proven true when she got pregnant, you see. My wife warned me right away not to expect children because of an accident she had when she was small. She was infertile. That's not my mother. I've lived in this neighborhood since I was pregnant, which I loved because weirdly enough so was my neighbor Stacy, both single mothers trying to create a stable environment. We had a few conversations, but not many as she was a little off-putting, always asking unnecessary questions about not only me, but about my baby. Fast forward, we've both given birth. I birthed a beautiful baby girl with a head full of hair. She was truly something out of a magazine. Stacy had a son. He had a few health problems once born, but they eventually came home as well. My daughter and I enjoyed fresh air and taking walks, but seemingly every time we came outside, there she was, always waiting and watching to see my baby, which isn't wrong in itself, but it's almost like she knew when we were getting ready to come out. Her son's health deteriorated over the years, and I could tell it affected her. She really wanted a child, so it seemed she honed on to mine. My daughter's 3rd birthday is here. I invited the neighborhood, and of course, that included Stacy. When the moment for gift-giving started, Stacy runs up to give my daughter a doll that weirdly has a walkie-talkie attached that goes with the doll. I don't think much of it, but I mentally note where all the gifts come from. It's been about a week since my daughter's birthday, and I hear a weirdly familiar voice coming from my daughter's room. It's Stacy's, talking to my daughter from the walkie-talkie, asking personal questions. No 3-year-old child should be asked like, "What time does mommy work? Do you love mommy? Where's daddy now?" Almost instantly, my body snatched the doll and walkie-talkie from my child and stored it away. I knew I had to move. I moved the next month. My daughter is around 7 now and still just as beautiful as she was as a baby. I haven't seen Stacy since. While going through storage, I see it, the little doll with the matching walkie-talkie, and almost instantly my daughter comes in simultaneously and sees it. She wants it. At first I was hesitant, but then I thought to myself, there's no way Stacy still has the matching set, so I let her take it. Months passed and everything is seemingly normal, until one day at the market, there she is, Stacy, awkward as ever, comes up to me with a smile. "Hey, what are you doing way in Maryland?" I say. She responds with, "I've been living here for around 3 years now." I asked where her son is now, and she tells me, "He passed away not too long after you guys moved away." My daughter comes up behind me and asks me for some watermelon, but Stacy can't stop staring at her. It wasn't subtle at all. I wrapped up our market trip and proceeded to leave and go home and begin to think about how weird all of that was. I immediately start looking for a new place to live. Something about her really creeps me out, and she has a weird obsession with my daughter. A few days passed. I remember the doll I just allowed her to play with again, and I go in her room with intentions on taking it, and I hear that same familiar voice talking to her. "Stacy." Immediately, I snatch it from her again and get on the walkie-talkie and say everything I've been wanting to say for years, and to simply, "Leave us alone, you freak." I burn the walkie-talkie thinking that was the problem, but little did I know that was only the start. We instantly start packing because I can't shake that creepy feeling she gave me and the eerily silence on the other side of the walkie-talkie after I went on that rant. "We can't leave tonight, it's raining and foggy outside, so I postpone until the morning." We begin to lay down at 1 in the morning, but then we get a knock on the door. I'm hesitant because I just got my daughter down, but I go to the door and lo behold, it's her, the woman who has been making my life a living hell for years, at my door with the coldest eyes and something behind her back. She stabs me. I bleed out with my last thoughts being of my daughter. She kills me. Now, daughters, POV. I wake up to my mommy's bathroom shower and sink running, so I sleepily walk up to the bathroom to tell her I woke up, but then through the foggy mirror I don't see her. I see someone else. That's not my mother. And that's it for today's video. Those stories were wild. Definitely some of the creepiest ones I've read so far. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know which story got to you the most, and if you've ever had something like that happen to you. I love reading your experiences down in the comments. Thanks again for all the support. It really means a lot. We've still got more horror coming this week, so stay tuned. I'll catch you all in the next one. And as always, stay safe out there.